There is a kind of impossible that God specifically waits for. Not the impossible that's merely difficult, not the impossible that just needs a little more time or a little more effort. There is a particular kind of situation, the kind where every rational door has closed, where you've exhausted every option you could think of, and where the people who once believed in you have quietly stopped asking for updates. And it is precisely in that situation, that specific category of hopelessness, where something in heaven leans forward. I need you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because I'm not going to tell you what you expect to hear. I'm not going to soften what you're walking through. I'm not going to reach for the easy comfort that sounds warm but lands hollow. What I'm going to do is tell you the truth about the season you're in, and the truth is stranger, more precise, and more powerful than any encouragement you've been trying to manufacture for yourself in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. You know those moments, the ones before you pick up your phone in the morning, when the weight of your situation sits on your chest before the day has even started. The moment when you're in a room full of people and you're laughing, you're present, you're fine, and then you drive home alone, and the silence tells you everything you've been managing to avoid. The night you sat at your kitchen table, or on the edge of your bed, or in your car in a parking lot, and you said out loud, to yourself, to God, to no one, "I don't know how this turns out." That moment, that exact moment, I need you to understand something about it. That moment was not a sign that you've been abandoned. That moment was not evidence that your faith has failed. That moment, the one that felt like the bottom of the whole story, was actually something else entirely. And what it actually was is what this entire conversation is about. Here is what I know about you, right now, watching this. You have been faithful in a season where faithfulness cost you something real. You have kept showing up to prayer, to hope, and to the quiet discipline of believing in a season where the results have not matched the effort. You have watched people who seem less committed than you receive what you've been asking for. You have smiled and said God's timing when what you actually felt was the quiet humiliation of continued waiting. And somewhere in the last few weeks, or the last few months, or the last few years, a thought has visited you that you've been too ashamed to say out loud. What if this just doesn't work for me? I am not here to dismiss that thought. I am here to tell you that the very existence of that thought, the desperation behind it, the rawness of it, and the fact that you're still here, even while feeling it, are some of the most significant things that could be happening in your life right now, because there is a kind of impossible that God specifically waits for, and you are standing in it. The question isn't whether this is going to turn. The question is whether you understand what's actually been happening while it looked like nothing was happening at all. And the answer to that question is going to change the way you read every single thing that has occurred in your life up to this moment. Stay with me. Let me name it precisely. Because the generic version of pain is the version that slides off you, and what you need right now is not a version of this that slides off. You need the version that lands. There was a specific moment, you know the one, when you realized that something you had built your hope around was not going to happen the way you believed it would. Maybe it was a relationship. Maybe it was a career, a calling, a vision for your life that felt so certain it was almost embarrassing how certain it felt. Maybe it was a prayer you prayed with everything in you, the kind of prayer where you weren't performing, where it was just you and God, and the full weight of what you needed, and the answer didn't come. And then the situation got worse. The room got quiet in a way that had weight, not just silent, heavy, the kind of quiet that you feel in your chest, where your breathing gets shallow, and you realize you've been holding something so long your body has forgotten how to release it. You have felt that quiet. You have lived inside that quiet. Some of you are living inside it right now. And here's the part that is almost never named, the loneliness of it. Not just being alone in the situation, but being alone in how long it's been going on. Because early in a difficult season, people gather around you. They check in, they pray with you. They say, "I believe with you." But time passes, the situation doesn't resolve, and one by one, quietly, without announcement, the checking in becomes less frequent. Not because they stopped caring, but because life moves on for everyone else, even when it doesn't move on for you. And you find yourself in the specific loneliness of the person who is still in the thing that everyone else has moved past. You stopped telling certain people about it, not because you gave up, but because you got tired of the look, that particular mixture of sympathy and low-grade pity that you can see even when they're trying to hide it. You got tired of the well-meaning advice that assumed you simply hadn't thought of the obvious thing. You got tired of the spiritual deflections, the "just trust God," and the "it's all in His timing," not because they're wrong, but because they're so compressed, so abstract, that they don't actually help you breathe inside the thing you're breathing inside. So you got quieter about it. You learned to perform fine, and the performance became so practiced that sometimes even you couldn't tell the difference between performing fine and actually being fine, except in the moments when the guard came down, which were the moments alone, in the car, at the kitchen table, and in the dark before sleep. And here is the thing you have been ashamed of feeling, the thing I want to give you explicit permission to acknowledge right now. You are exhausted. Not just physically tired, spiritually exhausted. The specific depletion that comes from sustained hope in a season where hope has not been rewarded. The weariness of someone who has kept their posture of faith up for so long that their spiritual muscles ache from the effort. That is not weakness. That is not a sign that something is wrong with you. That is evidence of how long and how consistently you have held on to something that mattered to you with everything you had. This was not weakness, this was evidence. And I want you to hear something else. The fact that it still hurts, the fact that you haven't gone numb, haven't hardened, haven't simply walked away from hope altogether, that is not nothing. That tenderness, that still open wound, is a sign that the part of you that believes has not been killed. It has been stretched. It has been tested. It has been taken to a limit you didn't know you had. But it is still alive. And being alive matters more right now than being comfortable. If you've ever felt like your faithfulness was invisible, type "seen" in the comments right now. Because what you're about to hear is going to change the way you understand your own story. Now I need to shift something. Not away from the pain. I'm not going to sidestep it, and I'm not going to wave it away with a verse and a smile. What I need to do is show you the same landscape from a different altitude. Because when you're standing on the ground, all you can see is the immediate terrain. And the immediate terrain of your life right now looks like obstruction. It looks like a delay. It looks like a door that will not open no matter how many times you knock. But altitude changes everything you see. Think about Joseph. And I know you've heard about Joseph. You've heard the summary, the arc, the victory lap version where he goes from the pit to the palace, and everyone learns a lesson about perseverance. But I want you to stop at the part that the summary always speeds past. I want you to stop at the pit. The text is precise about what the brothers did. They stripped him of his coat, that symbol of favor, of identity, of who his father believed he was, and they threw him into the pit. And then, without pausing, without a scene break, the text tells us they sat down and ate bread. The brothers, who had just destroyed their sibling's life, sat down and had a meal. The text doesn't slow down to give Joseph a breakdown scene. It doesn't record his cries, his confusion, his desperate bargaining with God in the dark of that pit. That is what should arrest you, not the palace at the end. The pit in the middle and the silence around it. Because here is what the text is telling you without saying it directly. The most significant preparation in Joseph's life happened in a hole in the ground where no one was watching, and nothing seemed to be happening. What looked like abandonment was actually an appointment. What felt like the end of the story was actually the first sentence of a chapter that no one around him could read yet. And I want to tell you something about your situation that I think you have not allowed yourself to fully receive. The fact that it hasn't resolved yet is not evidence that it won't. It is evidence of scale. Small things resolve quickly. Ordinary seasons turn in ordinary time. But there are seasons, specific, unusual, carefully constructed seasons, where the length of the delay is proportional to the size of what's being built, where the depth of the wilderness is a direct measurement of the height of the destination. The preparation is always longer than the performance, always. C.S. Lewis understood this at a level that cut through all the comfortable theology. He wrote, "Imagine yourself as a living house. God comes in to rebuild that house. You thought you were being made into a decent little cottage, but he is building a palace. A palace takes longer than a cottage. The foundation has to go deeper. The structure has to be reinforced at levels you cannot see from the surface. And while the building is happening underground, while the invisible work is being done in the dark, it looks from the outside and feels from the inside like nothing is happening at all. That is where you are, not in the silence of abandonment, in the noise of construction that you cannot yet hear, what you called delay, heaven called consecration. What looked like God forgetting you was actually God refusing to give you the cottage when he'd already drawn the plans for the palace. And you have been standing at the door of the cottage, knocking, while he has been behind you laying the foundation of something you don't even have a category for yet. I want to escalate this further because what's happening to you is not just personal. There is a dimension to this season that extends beyond your own life, your own comfort, your own timeline. The things that God prepares people through seasons like yours to do, they are almost never just for the person being prepared. Joseph's capacity to hold authority without becoming corrupt, to maintain compassion toward the very people who had tried to destroy him, that capacity was built in the pit. It was refined in Potiphar's house. It was deepened in the prison. And when the moment of his elevation came, the people of an entire region did not go hungry because one man survived a pit. They survived because the pit had made him the kind of man who could steward power without being destroyed by it. Your situation has never been only about you. The weight of what's being built in you is weight that other people you haven't met yet, people who are somewhere right now completely unaware of you, are going to need you to carry. This is not a metaphor. This is the pattern of Scripture and the pattern of human history. The people who changed things were almost always, without exception, people who were first broken open by a season they did not choose and could not control. You are not behind, you are being built. But I have to shift into a harder register now, because what I've told you so far is true, and it is not complete. And the part I haven't said yet is the part that will actually determine whether this season produces what it's designed to produce, or whether you walk out of it the same way you walked in, just older and more tired. The real problem you are facing is not your circumstances. It never was. The circumstances are real. The closed doors are real. The silence from heaven, the unanswered prayers, the delayed promises, those are all real, and I am not dismissing a single one of them. But circumstances are never the deepest problem. The deepest problem is always the story the circumstances have convinced you to believe about yourself, about God, and about what you are allowed to expect from the future. And that story, that invisible, habitual, deeply embedded story, is what I want to name right now with as much precision as I can. You are facing three enemies, and I want to be clear that they are enemies, not inconveniences. The first is external opposition, the people, the systems, and the situations that have actively worked against what you've been building. That enemy is real, and you know it well. The second is the world system, the framework of logic that says value is measured by productivity, that seasons without visible outcomes are wasted seasons, and that a person's worth is the sum of their most recent results. That enemy is more subtle, but you know it too. You feel it when you watch other people's apparent progress and feel the quiet shame of comparison. But the third enemy is the most dangerous one, and the third enemy is the version of you that has slowly, without announcement, made peace with a smaller story. Right now you're thinking, that's not me. I haven't given up. I'm still here, still watching, still believing. And you are right. You haven't given up in the way we typically define giving up. You haven't walked away from faith. You haven't stopped praying entirely. But there is a quieter kind of surrender that doesn't look like quitting. It looks like an adjustment. It looks like reasonable expectation management. It looks like taking the original vision, the big, specific, impossible-seeming thing you once dared to believe was actually yours, and quietly negotiating it down to something more achievable, something safer, something that won't hurt as much when it doesn't happen. That is the agreement I'm diagnosing, not the dramatic betrayal of faith. The quiet, incremental downsizing of what you're willing to believe is possible for your life. The enemy of your soul, and I'm going to be direct about this because Lewis was direct about it in a way that most modern spiritual conversation refuses to be, does not need you to walk away from God. He simply needs you to walk toward God with diminished expectation. C.S. Lewis, writing as the Devil Screwtape instructing a lesser demon, described the strategy with a precision that should arrest you. The gradual slope, soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without signposts. The slow reduction, the comfortable settling. The barely perceptible shift from God can do anything to God will probably do something reasonable in my situation. That is the battleground. That is where the real war is being fought. And here's the exposure, the thing the old self has been protecting. The reason you've negotiated the vision down is not because you stopped believing God is capable. It is because you stopped believing you are the kind of person God would do that for. The smallness isn't theological, it's personal. It's the deep, unspoken agreement that the extraordinary promises of God apply to extraordinary people, and that whatever you are something adjacent to ordinary. That agreement is a lie, and it is the lie that this season is specifically designed to break. Think about what the old self sounds like in your specific life. It is the voice that says, be grateful for what you have. Stop wanting more. Who are you to expect that level of outcome? It uses the language of humility to enforce limitation. It has learned to dress itself in spiritual vocabulary so that it sounds like contentment when it is actually defeat. It tells you that wanting what God actually promised you is arrogance. It tells you that the ache for more, for the thing you know you were made for, is something you need to get over. And the new self, the one this season is trying to construct, sounds different. The new self has been through enough to know that the outcome is not in its hands, and that knowledge has stopped being terrifying and started being freeing. The new self holds the vision without gripping it. The new self can pray for the impossible without performing desperation, because it has made peace with who God is in the middle of the not yet. The gap between those two versions of you is what this season is bridging. If this is describing your exact situation, if you've been living in that agreement without even realizing it, type "This is me" below. You are not alone in this, and you are not stuck here. So, what do you actually do? Because if this has been true, if the season has been building something, and the agreement has been limiting you, and the construction has been happening underground, what does it look like in your actual daily life to cooperate with what God is doing instead of working against it? I'm going to give you 3 things, not principles, not concepts. 3 concrete, nameable, specific practices that will change the interior landscape of the season you're in. And I'm going to give you the why before the what, because Lewis was right, that you have to be convinced before you can be changed. The first is this: name the original vision again, out loud, in its full size. Not the negotiated version, not the reasonable version, the original thing. The specific, particular, almost embarrassingly large thing that you believed, at some point, was actually meant for you. The thing you've stopped saying out loud because you've been burned enough times that the saying of it feels like exposure. I want you to find that thing and say it again. Here is why this matters, not sentimentally, but practically. The vision that has been reduced to a negotiated size cannot receive the full provision that was allocated for the original vision. The warehouse of what God has prepared for you was built to the specifications of the original blueprint. When you shrink the expectation, you are not being humble, you are being misaligned. You are moving out of the address where the provision is being sent. The act of naming the original vision again, in its full dimensions, is not arrogance, it is realignment. It is standing back under the rain that has been falling in the exact location where you used to stand before you moved for cover. This is going to feel uncomfortable. Do it anyway. Say it out loud, in a room by yourself if you need to, and say it in full, not the hedged version or the if God wills addendum that you use to protect yourself from disappointment. Say the actual thing. Let the sound of it be in your ears again. The second practice is this: treat the waiting as active, not passive. The most destructive thing about extended seasons of waiting is not the waiting itself. It is the way waiting tends to shift from an active posture to a passive one. You stop building. You stop learning. You stop moving in the direction of the thing because moving feels futile when the door is closed. You shift from active preparation to passive endurance. And passive endurance is where hope goes to calcify. Joseph didn't wait passively. In Potiphar's house, he worked. In prison, he interpreted dreams. He engaged with the people around him, and he continued to be excellent in the environment that had no obvious connection to where he was going. He treated every room like a room that mattered, even when the room was a prison. The activity of the waiting was itself the preparation for the arrival. In your life, this means finding the version of excellence that belongs to the season you're in, not the season you're waiting for. The skill you can develop right now. The relationship you can invest in right now. The character traits of patience, generosity, and quiet confidence can be built in the present environment. The waiting is not the gap before your life begins. The waiting is the part of your life that is shaping who you'll be when the door opens. The third practice, and this is the one that will cost you the most and matter the most, is this: release the timeline entirely. Not in resignation, not in defeat, in genuine, settled trust. There is a specific kind of peace that is available to you in this season that is not available anywhere else. And it is the peace of someone who has genuinely handed the schedule to God. Not handed it over and kept reaching back for it. Not handed it over with a mental note of when you need it returned by. Genuinely, fully, and with open hands, release the when. This is the hardest thing, because the timeline is the place where the anxiety lives. And releasing the timeline is not a one-time act. It's a daily practice, sometimes an hourly practice, of catching yourself, gripping the schedule again, and opening your hands again. But every time you do it, every time you catch the grip and release it, you become a slightly different person, a slightly freer person, and free people receive things that anxious people cannot hold. If this message is speaking directly into your season, subscribe and write the word "ready" in the comments, because something is already shifting, and I want to be here when the door opens. I want to tell you about someone. I won't use their name, but I want you to hear their story, because it is made of the same material as your story. There was a person who spent 4 years in a season that looked, from the outside, like stagnation. The thing they had believed they were called to, the specific, concrete, named thing, had not come together despite sustained effort, sustained faith, and sustained excellence in the work they could control. People in their circle had received similar things in shorter times. The logical interpretation of the evidence was that they had either misheard God or been overlooked by Him. On at least 3 separate occasions, they had the conversation with God where they offered to accept a smaller version of the thing. And each time, the peace that was supposed to come with surrender didn't come, because the surrender wasn't freedom. It was defeat dressed as humility. In the 5th year, something shifted. Not dramatically, not all at once, but a door that had been sealed for years opened, and what came through it was so specifically calibrated to what they had originally believed, so precisely matched to the details they had stopped saying out loud, that the only honest response was not celebration but repentance. Repentance for all the times they had believed the evidence over the promise. That person is walking in something today that could only have been built on the exact foundation of those 5 years. The wilderness was not wasted, not one day of it. And now I want to invite you to say something, out loud if you can. Let the words be in the room with you. I am not defined by the length of this season. I am not defined by the closed doors, the unanswered prayers, or the silences that felt like verdicts. I was built for more than the negotiated version. The original vision is still mine. The promise has not expired. I am not forgotten. I am not behind. I am in the middle of something that I will one day look back on and understand, and the understanding will redeem every single day of the waiting. I am walking forward. I am walking free. I am walking into what God has prepared, and I will not arrive one day late. Now let me pray with you. God, you see this person right now. Not the performed version, not the fine version, not the version they show the world. You see the one who has been carrying this in private. You know the specific thing they've been believing for. You know the exact number of days this has been pressing on them. And I'm asking, with everything in me, I'm asking that you do what you do in impossible situations. That you do what you did in the pit, in the prison, in the wilderness, in the tomb. That you move in a way that can only be explained as you. Heal the places where the waiting has calcified into unbelief. Restore the original vision in full, not the negotiated version, the real one. Give them the peace that is not dependent on circumstance, the deep, settled, oxygen-rich peace of someone who knows that the outcome is in trustworthy hands. And open the door. At the exact right moment, in the exact right way, for the exact right reason, open the door, in the name of the one who is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Amen. If this prayer landed for you, if something shifted while you were in it, type Amen below. And if you know someone who needed this today, share this with them right now. You might be the reason their season turns. I want to close with this. There are far better things ahead than any you leave behind. That is not a comfort invented for people in pain. That is the testimony of everyone who has stood where you are standing and lived to see what was being built in the dark. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not invisible. You are exactly where the work is happening, and the work is almost done.